My fiancé said I need a break to figure things out. I told her, sure, trying to sound calm, trying to be understanding, trying not to let the panic rise in my chest. I thought a break meant space. A temporary pause where we could breathe, think, and maybe return to each other with clarity. I never imagined it would feel like this, like stepping off a cliff without knowing whether I would land or fall forever. At first, I told myself to stay patient. I imagined her somewhere, sitting quietly, thinking through her feelings, considering our relationship. Maybe writing notes, talking to friends, or simply breathing. I told myself that she would come back to me, that she needed clarity, and that maybe this distance could make us stronger. But every hour felt longer than the last, stretching into days that were impossible to measure. I found myself checking my phone constantly, imagining every possibility, creating conversations in my head that might never happen. I tried to sleep, but my thoughts were relentless. I kept replaying every argument we ever had, every laugh, every small moment I thought mattered. Then, I found the messages, between her and her family, between her and her friends, messages about us, messages about me, messages I wasn't supposed to see. I froze the first time I realized what I was reading. My hands shook, my chest tightened, my stomach sank into itself. Every word felt like a knife cutting through the hope I had been holding onto so tightly. I read some messages again, thinking perhaps I had misunderstood. But the more I read, the clearer it became that something had changed, that something had shifted, while I was still trying to keep our love intact. I felt every emotion at once. Shock, confusion, heartbreak, anger, disbelief. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. I wanted to cry until my body gave out. I wanted to ask questions, demand answers, and yet part of me was too scared to speak, too scared to confront the truth fully. I felt betrayed, yes, but also deeply alone. It was as if everything I believed about us was suddenly fragile, like sand slipping through my fingers, no matter how tightly I tried to hold on. I thought about every memory we shared. I went through every smile, every tear, every quiet moment together, trying to find some sign that this was coming, trying to understand where it all went wrong. Were there hints I ignored? Moments where I could have acted differently? Or was this entirely out of my control, a shift I never saw coming? I felt like I had been living in a bubble, thinking we were building something real and permanent, while the foundation beneath me had quietly eroded. I wanted to confront her. I imagined myself asking questions, looking for honesty, demanding explanations. But even as I imagined the conversation, I felt the fear that the truth would hurt more than the messages already had. And still, part of me loved her. I loved her even as my heart cracked. I loved her even as I realized that maybe the person I thought she was had changed. Or maybe the person I thought I was in this relationship had been an illusion all along. Nights were the worst. Sleep came in fragments. Broken by the relentless replay of her words and the messages I had read. I imagined her laughing with friends, sharing secrets that didn't include me. I imagined her talking to her family, venting, questioning, analyzing everything we had done together. And I wondered, was I ever really enough? Was our love ever enough? Had she already decided her path, while I was still hoping for a bridge back to what we had? Every day became a cycle of anticipation and despair. I checked my phone, reread the messages, and then cursed myself for doing so. I tried to occupy my mind with work, with distractions, with small tasks that seemed meaningless, but the emptiness followed me everywhere. I felt hollow. I felt lost. I felt like someone had taken the world I knew and quietly removed the part that made sense, leaving me behind in the dark. I thought about the moments I had cherished most, the quiet nights, the laughter over nothing, the subtle ways we showed love without words. Now they felt bittersweet, tinged with fear and uncertainty. I wondered if she remembered them the same way, or if she had already let them fade in her mind while I was still clinging to them. I questioned myself constantly. Could I have been better? Could I have shown her more attention, more patience, more understanding? Could I have anticipated this moment, prevented it? Or was this inevitable? Something beyond my control, something that simply ran its course despite all the love I had invested. Even as despair grew, there was still a part of me that hoped. I hoped that maybe she would come back with clarity, with understanding, with the desire to fight for us again. I hoped that we could sit down and talk, openly and honestly, and rebuild the trust that had been fractured. I hoped that the love ye shared could survive this, because even with everything I had learned, even with the messages, I still cared. I still wanted her in my life. But alongside hope was a gnawing fear. A fear that the relationship I loved no longer existed in the same way for her. A fear that maybe she had already made up her mind. A fear that the person I thought I knew so well was not the person I was dealing with now. It was a constant tug of war inside me. Love versus fear. Hope versus heartbreak. Trust versus betrayal. Some nights I would sit alone and imagine a future where we were still together. I would picture us laughing again, sharing quiet mornings, comforting each other in the way only we could. And then reality would hit. Her words, the messages, the distance, and those visions would shatter, leaving me with nothing but aching emptiness. I still find myself thinking about her constantly, about us, about what could have been, about what might still be. I want to believe that love can overcome anything, that people can change, that relationships can survive even the hardest trials. But right now, I am learning that some breaks aren't just pauses. They are mirrors that show you a version of reality you weren't prepared to face. And so I sit here, heart heavy, mind racing, trying to process the flood of emotions that comes in waves, trying to understand what I did right, what I did wrong, and whether any of it matters, any nor. Trying to decide if I can forgive, if I can move forward, if I can hope again. And through it all, I realize that love is not simple, that relationships are fragile, and that heartbreak can come, even when you least expect it, even when you think you are safe. But still, despite the confusion, despite the betrayal, despite the heartbreak, I cannot stop caring. I cannot stop loving. I cannot stop hoping, even if hope feels impossible right now. And maybe that is what love truly is. Holding on, even when it hurts. Believing, even when you fear. And continuing, even when the path forward is unclear.